Welcome back to the decider game of Group C. Two players now go head-to-head to decide who goes through in second place. And this is a big game now. This is a really, really big game between Polt and FireCake, joined by Todd, Rossi, and Fenner. I like how your head height is descending towards me. Todd being the tallest on the end, you'll see that, guys, in a second. This is a big match for multiple reasons. Let's talk a little bit about Polt, first of all. Just suffered a loss, his first loss this season, against Hydra. Hydra, I think it was safe to say, outplayed Polt. And that's not going to leave a nice taste in his mouth coming into this one.
It's not, but the one thing that he has got going for him, he's already played FireCake. And he beat FireCake 2-0 quite convincingly, so he's definitely got that going for him. Hopefully he keeps that in his mind, he probably has. And he's going to have to soak up that loss. Now, did FireCake watch those games? He probably did.
I'm sure he did.
He probably did. Polt, he seems to be liking the 3cc play, so maybe FireCake can have a bit of look at that and maybe go for a Roach Bane like Hydra did, mix it up a bit.
I mean, it's safe to say Polt and FireCake, they're on different levels. There's no doubt there. They're on different levels of type of players. From just watching Polt play versus Hydra, is there enough information, valuable information that FireCake can gather to tackle this beast, to put him at an advantageous position?
I'm not sure, because even if FireCake got a lot of information, and I'm sure he did, his previous games, he felt like he just wasn't confident, you know, to play it standard. He played like with some roaches, like weird compositions. That's, you know, either you pull very far ahead in the start and you're in a good position, or nothing happens and you don't achieve anything and then you're really far behind and then you lose. And that's what happens. So I think he's just not confident versus Terran, and he's gonna need to make something special happen in order to beat somebody like Polt.
Safe to say this, oh sorry, go ahead, Fenner.
I think a big thing is that because he played yesterday, he can look at those games and see why he lost. And one of the reasons why he lost yesterday is because he went up to
Swarmhost too fast, right?
Yeah. He was trying to get Swarmhost out on 3 bases, but against Terran, ideally, you want to get that 4th base established before you go into the later game tech.
It should help it a little bit as well that he did just play that series against Mana, which was a very intense series, and he did win it, and the crowd was loud, like they were really loud. We're sitting here with headsets on, and I can hear them roar, and I do think that's something that you can feed off. And then, you know, that in combination with some extra information that he had yesterday from those games already, and just watching Polt right now, like those are 3 factors that kind of favor him maybe a little bit going into this series.
Is it safe to say that this is the biggest task, the biggest challenge that FireCake's had in his entire StarCraft 2 career?
Well, he went up against a couple of Mac players. That
those were difficult challenges, I'm sure. And they were very long challenges as well that took a lot of time to complete. But this has to be the most serious one.
We're not talking endurance here. We're talking making it into the top 8. And this is indeed one of probably his greatest challenge.
Map order, boys. Overgrowth, Catalina, Vani Research Station. Thoughts, Fenner, straight away?
Thoughts again, once again, we've got Catalina on there. A map I don't like in ZVT. FireCake went
you as a Zerg, you always say this, but like as a Zerg, he vetoed Inferno Pools and Secret Springs. Which one would you rather have?
I'd rather an Inferno Pools.
But what happens if you spawn close to each other?
It's not too bad.
Horizontal is not too bad?
Not too bad. I'd rather take less damage from the Reapers and play closer positions. Maybe it's just me.
Don't like most Zergs disagree with you though? Aren't you the exception?
No, I mean, maybe he just doesn't want to roll the
obviously.
dice. Maybe he just doesn't want to roll the dice. Maybe he doesn't want to be close on horizontal. Like, I do agree. I personally am on your side, don't get me wrong, but you're the Zerg players. I just want to hear it from you.
Zerg players still can win on Catalina though. We've seen them win quite a lot. It's not like it's impossible against Terrans. It is difficult, but it's not impossible. So what do you think about the map order there? We saw Vani Research Station creeping in, pretty good for Swarmhost play. We saw that long game that we had FireCake against 4GG in the round of 32 on that map. Also Overgrowth, pretty good for Swarmhost play too. But one thing that stands out the most, Todd, is that these maps do favor mech, but Polt isn't a mech player.
Yeah, and I think you probably wouldn't even think about going for mech here against somebody like FireCake, who's going to have so much experience, you know, with the Swarmhost turtle style against the mech style. So,
but we don't even really see Swarmhost versus Marine Marauders that often. Is that something that we can see now, or is FireCake going to play normal?
I mean, Snoot is the guy who's been working very hard to kind of, you know, make it work. And to some extent, make it standard. Like for some time, he was doing very well with it. Some other times...
I am back then against Flash and that series against MMA and stuff.
Well, in the first 2 games, yes. In the next 3, it looked like a foolish attempt a little bit. So, I don't know. It seems very difficult to make Swarmhost work versus Terran. And Snoot has been the only one so far that's done well with it. I don't feel that confident for FireCake if you were to try that personally.
All right, predictions, please. Come on, you have to be honest. You have to be honest too. You have to be really brutally honest on this.
I feel like Polt definitely is the favorite. Like he's gonna take really something incredibly special, like his best play ever for FireCake to win this. He's a massive underdog.
It would be truly memorable if FireCake wins. I do think he's going to take a map. I think Polt wins the series 2-1, but it would be, you know, with this crowd, it would be pretty damn amazing.
3 out of 3.
I'm going to go with the Polt 2-0.
The Desk thinks Polt. He is a 2-time WCS champion. He's looking for his 3rd title, potentially. The only player to do that if he was able to get that. And FireCake has to do the impossible. What he couldn't do earlier on in this tournament, he must complete now. Let's go over to the commentary team to see if this can happen.
That's right, Apollo. It's rematch time here between Polt and FireCake. And at the moment, Polt is looking like firm favorite here, Nathanius. And I can imagine on your side of things, you might be going with the Terran as well.
Yeah, as Fenner said, it's going to take something truly special. And I think when we look at the way that the maps are laid out, Overgrowth should be his map. We saw him in his first attempt versus Polt yesterday to try to break out those swarm hosts, but wasn't in any situation where it was necessarily ideal.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I kind of like their discussion about the maps as we're still in the lobby. We're getting ready to kick off game number 1. How do you feel about like the choice between Catalina and Inferno pools?
It is a tough one. Obviously, if you do spawn in those close positions on Inferno pools, then you're in for a rough time in general. But if you get any other spawn, it's not as bad. It is a bit of a tricky one. But Overgrowth is our first map here between these two. And, you know, whilst FireCake has been able to gather momentum on this map in the past, and whilst I do believe he is a more rounded player nowadays and a very strong player, he's going up against Captain America.
Yeah, Polt is not known for losing many maps in WCS. He's one of the best records, and I think Hydro is probably the only player that you could say was favored over him in this series, or at least in this tournament. But it's time to find out now if the Frenchman can make one of the greatest upsets, I believe, in this season of WCS. To get to the top 8 would be a tremendous achievement for him. The first time in his career, he's up against this guy in the top right position of Overgrowth. Representing CM Storm, he's Polt.
A strong contender for the whole thing. Strong contender. And down to the bottom left-hand corner, as you mentioned, he's got to make quite the upset occur here in this best of 3. Moving on forwards, it is FireCake.
And something that I thought was really cool that the guys on the desk made sure to mention was, of course, that because 4GG and Hydra come out first place in their groups, there's no way that they're going to meet early on in the final bracket of the top 8. So Polt is going to have to go through one of them pretty early on if he wants to make it to the finals, which just makes his life a hell of a lot more difficult, assuming he's able to get past this match. But that puts a little bit more emphasis on FireCake, who we can see is decided to take things into his own hands, Calaris.
Yeah, I really wasn't expecting this to go down, but I think he understands as well that Polt is the prime favorite here. There was no pun intended there at all. So taking this spawning pool and being able to just fly across, maybe if he was going up against something like a command center first, it could have gone pretty well, but Polt is playing quite a standard build here.
It's not really early enough of a pool to try to kill or shut down a Terran player in the early game, and it's a bit too late to be, you know, just a safe pool. But FireCake, he kind of played around with this a little bit in his games yesterday against Polt, and he's kind of got a really fast queen to deal with a Reaper play. I guess it's also a suitable way to hold off a 2-racks, which Polt doesn't really go for. And I wouldn't even be surprised if he's just using this to get supply. Yeah, he double extractor tricks after this. Probably just going to start up his expansion, so I think Roddy was telling me that if you don't get any lings, this can somehow be nice as far as economy goes. But I guess he's just hoping that he gets his hatchery up and slips these lings past center. He has to just be trying to dodge the Reaper with these 6 lings.
Yeah, that's the only thing that I can think of as well. This Overlord is going to go forwards and have a little look around at the front to find out exactly what he's going up against. You will see that wall at the top of that ramp. And it will be a little bit more difficult for him to do huge amounts with these lings because that wall is there. But at least he sees the Reaper darting out now. And if he can go up to the left, he will be able to avoid it.
Yeah, this is very tricky for Polt because he didn't SCV scout. He's now going down to start that command center. The second Reaper is halfway done, and the lings are making their way over towards that base. The Overlord sees, he knows what's up, and one Reaper alone, well, we saw what happened when Hydra was able to get 6 lings on a command center this fresh. He's going to kill this SCV and immediately get to work on canceling this expansion. Polt immediately cancels it. FireCake shuts that down early on. His expansion's about to finish up. Polt immediately begins to rebuild in his main base. But Kalaris, this is, it's an already jarring position to be put in for Polt.
Yeah, great little start there for FireCake. Great little start. He's going to spread these Lings out as well. He knows he can't really contend with the Reaper because he doesn't have speed, and back home he is just droning and making sure his Queen's in a good position to actually start things up at the front.
Yeah, he's got a third Queen on the way too, so the Reapers don't really have a lot of opportunity to attack across the map. Really important that you pointed out the Zerglings splitting up. At least he can get some of them back home, and maybe he actually ran one over to the natural to see if he was building the new command center down there, which, he could have potentially delayed again.
For now, the extra creep tumor. Actually, that creep tumor went down very, very fast. That was the position for that Queen to get down there and make that happen really, really speedy. So he will have a bit more of maneuverability around the one cliff where those Reapers are looking to jump in.
Yeah, very, very important when the Terran player has 3 Reapers out of the map. So these 2 Queens shouldn't have much trouble whatsoever. And if he decides to jump into the main base, then getting out becomes very, very difficult. As FireCake boots up a reasonably fast Roachhorn with only 2 geysers mining. It's not like he's using this as a safety Roachhorn, at least I don't think.
I gotta say, really like the position FireCake's in right now. I really like his opener. Not only, the Lings to actually do something, but also the creep spread really early on just to give himself this position. But getting those 2 creep tubers,
I didn't think he could get the second one.
Yeah.
It looked like it was just in that last moment as it burrowed when it completed. But if he doesn't push with the Roachhorn immediately, and the one advantage of all of this is his Overlord can see that there's still no wall, right? So without Zergling speed, he could try to do a little bit of what he did yesterday, which was just a couple of roaches, not more than 6, and move into a third base with a lair. And he is starting up the lair, so he's just choosing the ultimate middle of the road build. He must be scared that Polt's going to do something against him like he did versus Hydra with the Hellbats and a lot of Hellions behind the Reapers.
Yeah, with the 4 gas guys being added on here. With the sprinkling of roaches to keep himself well defended, is there the chance that this could be into Mutalisks later on to try and harass Polt?
I guess this is, I have to agree there. I think what what FireCake's most worried about from Polt is just any type of aggressive play.
Yeah.
He knows that he probably doesn't have the mechanics to match someone like Polt when it comes to dealing with the micro engagements of holding off a lot of Hellions, pressuring his Queens. It's possible that he's lost a lot of games against Terran due to that, and this is just the way he set himself up. He's okay with the late third. I would not be surprised to see him immediately go up to Aspire. I don't think he has what he needs yet to try to make a Swarm Host-based play if he was going to be so bold as to try.
Yeah, and I like what you mentioned there, actually taking the later third during all of this. That's something that a player like Polt can easily exploit with Hellions, or the initial Hellions and Reapers once they've actually been kept alive. So taking this a little bit slower here, FireCake slowing his pace down with that Spire now going up is the better way in my opinion.
Yeah, he's still got these roaches here. There's no Zergling speed. He got Zergling speed actually very late in his games against Polt yesterday. So FireCake is once again going for this style that he did basically the same thing he did against Polt yesterday, which was, I'm going to put myself a little bit behind, maybe do that slightly aggressive opening at the start so that I can even things out. But he's not looking to do any type of all-in-ish play. He's just trying to safely make it to the mid-game and drag the game out long where he can get those Swarm Hosts out that he used yesterday as well.
And this is the power of catching those 2 creep tumors with the Reapers at the start. If he hadn't, maybe they would have spread over to the third, and those Queens would have been there a little bit easier. So small knock-on effects in the start of this game do give Polt a bit of an easier time at harassing at that slightly fortified location with the roaches.
And because of this, because he had to build those roaches, because they had, the Queens were a bit slower, lose a couple Lings here and there, he's only at 49 drones compared to 48 SCVs. And with 3 orbital commands on the map, this gives Polt a significant edge in income. So Polt, by all intents and purposes, is looking very, very solid this game. Much better than the games that he played against Hydra looked. And we also have to keep in mind that while FireCake is going to have fast mutas out on the map, Polt got his barracks set up before he started his second and third barracks before he started his engineering base. So he's got a good amount of marine production already on the way, and his upgrades are actually coming. There's not even an evolution chamber on the map for FireCake.
And Polt's no fool. He understands that after dropping the scan in the main ages ago, after seeing the 2 base, well, this is quite a bit of damage just to get done with these Hellions. But he knows that Aspire is going to be on the way. It has to be with the 4 gas geysers and the layer being at the timing it was, despite not seeing Aspire just yet.
Yeah, this is close to the same thing that Polt saw in the last game. And he did actually have an evolution chamber tucked in by the natural, going for Carapace first, which will help all of his units and not just the Zerglings at this point. Does pick out the Viking. Viking already did its job of clearing out the Overlords that were on Polt's side of the map. But now he wants to do something with these Mutalisks because he's essentially delayed every other part of his game plan and his entire strategy to get these mutas out this fast. Polt's already throwing up missile turrets. Kalaris, I'm not getting too strong a vibe that he can get a lot done here. Maybe he grabs a few of these Marines when they're split away from everything else.
He was looking towards just going through the middle, trying to find some of the vulnerable units.
Oh, no turret in the natural just yet.
I'm surprised by that, actually.
He's forced these Marines to chase. He does have one in the main base, which I guess would have been the really big kicker since those Marines have much further to run. And it's actually getting a little bit of damage done, almost killing one of these Mutalisks.
Yeah, at least he got 2 SCVs for his troubles. It's not too bad, but ideally, as a player, you would like to find a little more room after you've delayed your third to get these Mutalisks out and find those holes for harassment.
Yeah, now the mutas come in, and this is supposed to be the big threat, right? Polt can't really move out on the map if FireCake can threaten to jump in with the mutas and knock down an add-on or two. And if Polt leaves behind enough Marines to deal with the Mutalisks, we actually see that this has distracted Polt quite a bit because, yeah, he's doing some harassment. If you look at these barracks, very few of them are actually building anything. Polt's been supply blocked pretty hard for a while. 4 depots are close to finishing up, but he was not producing Marines for a good portion of time. FireCake takes 30 supply lead in all of this. I'm actually starting to like the way that FireCake is controlling his forces. He's not looking too shabby.
Yeah, as I said, man, as I said at the desk, FireCake has come on leaps and bounds as a player in the past year or so. You can't just look at him and say, oh, you're the swarm host guy, because, well, yeah, he kind of is. But he can utilize other units and strategies very effectively.
It's still no missile turret in the natural for Polt. FireCake's mutas get in. He's actually starting to knock down a good amount of workers here. Couple Marines stim up trying to defend against this, but that means he's not rallying across the map. Here's the real test. Can FireCake stop this push? Polt is moving up. He's hit his supply cap. He needs to get a couple more Overlords, but I think this Roach Bane is actually enough to deal with any small push that Polt can make.
Yeah, he really doesn't have too much that's going to threaten FireCake at the front at all. The Mutalisks are doing all right. They're getting themselves worker after worker. 9 have died. It's 72 to 58 with that 4th base down to the bottom right, having not been touched at all by, well, technically both players, but eventually FireCake can drone that up.
I mean, the thing is, Overgrowth is one of those maps where it's very hard to push this, and I was a bit surprised FireCake actually queued up 10 Overlords when I said he should build a few more. I don't know if he needed 10 more Overlords, but, you know, he can afford to throw away a few Overseers now without getting supply blocked, which is nice. His 2-2 upgrades have started. Polt is way ahead on that, but if he takes a fight before his +2 finishes, I think FireCake is going to be able to get the most ideal engagement that he could look for. His Mutalisk count being pretty low means the mines should be effective, but Polt doesn't have a crazy amount of bio.
There's plenty of upgrades on the way here for FireCake. +2 weapons for his Mutalisks will be done in just a little bit. Won't have too much of an impact for now, though, as the counter-attack being launched to catch some of these reinforcing units, potentially, or even just go to the mineral line. But it looks like they will engage those reinforcements.
I really like this. This distracts Polt. We see that he's pulling his rallied forces back. This means that FireCake has an opportunity to try to jump on top of this actual army. Ooh, Widowmine just kind of chunked out 10 lings from that group. So FireCake, he sent some units to counterattack, but not able to get much. This is a map that's known for that 4th base being very difficult to push, but like many other games he's seen FireCake play against Terran, especially against Polt, he doesn't have any drones there. So this 4th base doesn't really mean a whole lot unless he gets workers here. With Polt, he's going to push in, and FireCake's just trying to surround this army and get one big victory of an engagement and go for a counter.
And he might get it here. There's a lot of Bailey's coming in from either side, crashing into the walls of Polt here, but the split back was all right from Polt. He keeps a lot of his Marines alive at the back and manages to take a supply advantage from it.
Yeah, really nice engagement from Polt. He has the Thor here now. He still has most of his Widow Mines that were in part of this fight intact. And like I said, without drones on that 4th base, FireCake's not going to be able to kick up back in supply as quickly as he'd otherwise like to. He's got a lot of resources actually banked up. And you can see his macro starting to slip. He's got 600 minerals and gas, no larva. He's going to dump all those resources into Banelings, but he'd love to have a few more Lings on top of this, I'd imagine.
Yeah, definitely, especially with the potential Widowmine traps that he's going to be going up against here. Polt's already well set up to press his advantage towards that 4th base. That drone actually soaked up one of those Widowmines, which is probably a boon for FireCake, considering he's going to try and push in now with a few of these Banelings coming in from the back as well. Thor's going to be focused down by those Mutalisks, gets picked up, pulled back. A lot of the Marines on this right-hand side got cleaned up there by FireCake, and he should be able to push this back a little bit.
Yeah, the FireCake lost his 4th base. As nice as it is to be able to defend against a push like this, now he's on 3 base versus a 3-base Terran. His Mutalisks actually get caught at the end of all of this. That Thor really peppered away at them, so he finds himself with just 4 mutas, no Banelings left, 13 on the way, but only halfway done. Polt could actually just run up and cancel all these. He's forced to fight with the rest of the Mutalisks in order to try to defend this base.
Yeah, very, very difficult now for him to fully hold off against that. I forgot about all those units. units down towards the fourth that just came and reinforced. And Polt really aggressively continues to reinforce with this. His 3-3 is on the way. FireCake's not going to have any room at all to be able to get up to that. So it's all spiraling out of control here for FireCake.
Yeah, the Widow Mines are going to park themselves behind the Thor, and the Thor actually has the range to just start working away on the extractor, this hatchery with so many drones, nowhere else for them to go. FireCake's going to be forced to take another big fight. He needs to defend this base. I don't see how he's supposed to win with 2 base versus 3.
Even those Banelings that actually got through to some of the back lines of that all died before they could even connect with pretty much anything. The second base falls. He's trying to take a third over to the left-hand side of this map in desperation here, FireCake, because as the game goes on, you see the class and skill of Polt slowly overwhelming FireCake. Bit by bit, he is able to be victorious.
And FireCake never had enough time to dump any of his gas bank into getting a big Muta ball. He lost way too many of his Mutalisks during the fight. He's trying to go back up to 9 now, but that's not going to be effective at all in any of these engagements. He's not going to be able to snipe Widow Mines very effectively. And 3-3 finishing up for Polt. This is usually where the Terran can drop the killing blow.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a counterattack trying to go on here, but the wall says no.
It's a big wall, Claris.
Yeah, it's not really going to be easy to get past that unless you morph in some Banelings, and even the reinforcements can challenge those Lings quite easily, but FireCake doesn't seem to be as attentive at the end of this. There you go, GG, taking a big swig of his water, and Polt will be victorious here in game number 1. As I say, it's those small incremental steps, but I did like the start from FireCake.
Yeah, I mean, getting the cancel on the command center is always nice, but at some point or another, you have to look at what you're able to make beyond that. And going into Roaches after he already slowed Polt down, like, yeah, Polt was moving into the Reapers. He was going to have the Hellions. But if you need to build 7 Roaches to take your third base and get a lair, we didn't see Hydra do that. Yeah, he had to trade blows against the Hellbat play, but this just put him in a spot where there wasn't a lot else for him to work with. Yeah, he got the Mutalisks out, and I would say that the Mutalisks, with their initial harass, did a lot of damage, but he slipped up in other departments. We talked about Polt's supply block, but also missing the injects. Like, he had no larva, but 1K. It's just, those are the mistakes you can't make and beat a championship tier Terran player like Polt with.
It's not like Polt was invulnerable in that game towards the later stages. Of course, his second base, as you rightly pointed out, didn't have that missile turret. I think he was relying on his reinforcing Marines that were passing that location anyway to try and defend that. But he did lose workers, so kudos for FireCake to finding those holes and trying to exploit his opponent where he could. But now here, map number 2 on Catalina, Nathanius. Can FireCake mount this comeback against Polt?
It doesn't get any easier, Claris. This is the map that Terran, and you have your 3 maps. Like, Overgrowth is a Zerg favorite map because the 4th base is very difficult to push in a macro game. Catalina is a Terran favored map because it's very easy to go for big drop play, which can pull you away from that 4th, making it a bit easier to hit. You have a very big map, so you have to spread a lot of creep if you want to see all the different directions they can come from. And when you're playing against Polt, well, he's going to build a Viking at some point in the game, and if you want to have Overlords watch that 4th base, good luck.
Yeah, it's difficult stuff. It really is. I kind of understand, where FireCake's coming from with the 2-base Muta play. I mean, of course, you want your Mutas out and you want to be able to shut down drops if they're going to hit you left and right, but Polt doesn't even need that sometimes. He just powered through the middle and kept on going. Anyway, the countdown has begun here for Catalina, which will be our second map between these two, and I'm expecting Polt to bring out as strong a performance as he did this then.
Yeah, Polt definitely got a bit of a reality check in this tournament. He's not going to be able to waltz his way through. He knows that Hydra is also probably watching these games too, so Polt sticking to some very, very standard, not super crazy openings, I think is the most ideal thing for him to do. He's just got to play his A game and know that there's a chance for a rematch later on. And he just needs to stay focused on the rest of this tournament because FireCake has not put up too much resistance in his way, at least in their first match, and not in that first game.
All right, well, let's get into it. Game number 2 now in this best-of-3 series. The winner is going on to the round of 8 as we have spawning up to the north. It's our red Terran representing CM Storm. It is Polt.
Yeah, just 1 game away from moving on to the top 8 bracket. This gentleman needs to win this map or he's knocked out of the round of 16 in the bottom right position of Catalina. The blue Zerg, it's FireCake.
A player that I don't think a lot of people expected even to be in this position. But now, I think people looking at his games, people watching how he's played it out, I found newfound respect for how he plays because he definitely has been able to step it up in the past couple of months.
Yeah, I mean, his straight up game was quite good, and I would even argue at this point if Polt had been able to defeat Hydra, by the way, FireCake's doing this quick pool opening again, and I have to imagine that it's just going to be for a similar play to the last game. But if FireCake had been able to play against Hydra and ZvZ, he recently took a 3-0 series against Sulky in the Fragmite Masters, and Sulky ended up actually taking out Showtime later on in that tournament, so it wasn't even like he was in the worst shape of his life.
Yeah.
But it was quite surprising. FireCake ZvZ seemed incredibly on point, and it's a matchup where there's less tricky stuff that you have to worry about, because usually it's like either Ling Bane or Roach, but he finds himself up against someone that I don't think he wanted to play in this group.
Yeah, that's very, very true. And, going back to even FireCake versus Sulky, the way in those ZvZs actually play out is that it's a matchup that's very dependent purely on micro skill, and there are small hidden things that go on, but the fact that FireCake can take out someone like Sulky is just mind-blowing. And he took out Rain as well, I think, right?
Well, the thing is, if you look at just the way that Sulky likes to play, if you like to be a little bit on the slower side, like FireCake is not the slowest player in the world as far as APM goes, but Terran versus Zerg is just the most mechanically demanding matchup in the game. So if your opponent is better than you mechanically, it's very, very difficult to win, no matter how smart you are, or how creative you can be. In Zerg versus Protoss, he compensates for this with the Swarm Host, because the Protoss doesn't hit you in as many places at once. In ZvZ, it's usually about those big frontal engagements where you can just kind of focus on what's happening in front of you. This makes me feel, just from the games that I've seen of FireCake lately, that ZVT is his weakest matchup when he's not playing against mech.
Yeah, those are some sneaky Lings heading up just past this Reaper, and we'll look for the SCV potentially here. It looks like he was almost waiting for a second Reaper to come out and then goes in, because he knows and understands the timing of it.
He knows that if that SCV jukes around a little bit, and actually this Reaper comes back, he's like waiting for those two Lings to come by, and they will move in. This is not a command center canceling force. This is just I want to delay it. And Polt, very smartly, like he insta-canceled last game, but this time he's like, okay, only two Lings. I don't have to worry about this. He's not even going to kill my SCV. I can just get right back to work.
Yep, he knew exactly what was going on as soon as he found those two little Lings, and from then on out, he will just be going into the factory behind all of this. Third Reaper is going to be joining up. Keeping those alive for the Hellions later on can cause a whole lot of problems for a Zerg if they're not well-versed in dealing with it.
Yeah, Polt's just going to go up 3 command centers, though. He's not really concerned about anything. FireCake takes 2 gases. And I'm just going to assume we're going to see him throw down a Roach Warren pretty soon. He's going to probably do the same thing. Every single game he's played versus Polt, we've seen the same thing. The fast pool, couple Lings run out, and he just can't really deal with this Reaper too well. He's actually going to lose a Queen.
Ooh, yeah, that went down pretty easily as well there, with only 1 Queen having to be able to fend it off. But same time, second Queen, now she is pretty vulnerable once they field up and are good to go.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing about Reaper openings is that they're generally about the momentum, and if you're not doing an all-in, but you still manage to kill a Queen, this really complicates things. He's like, oh, you have 2 in your natural? Well, if I killed 1, that means there's probably not much in your main base, and there's no Queens in the main. He's starting to move 1 up now back towards that base, but this is once again a position where 3 Reapers can really fight, and he's either delaying injects or he's delaying additional creep tumors the more that he forces FireCake to dance around these Reapers.
Yeah, it's a really good little move, but at the same time, I really like that FireCake was spreading his creep as actively, as quickly as he was doing, just so that he could catch them. But sadly, Catalina for a Zerg is quite an annoying map to deal with Reapers, because there's such a big surface area on that cliff into your main.
Yeah, FireCake's building 6 Roaches. I'd be surprised to see him add on many more. I'm just getting the impression that as he hits 100 gas, he's just going to start up that lair again, go right for that Spire, and just try to play another straight-up game, which hasn't worked very well. There's the lair. FireCake, a very stubborn way to play against somebody who has shown to mechanically outclass you. He hasn't made any big moves that make this style look like it's particularly effective. Polt just outplayed him at every stage of that last game, and to a pretty good extent, the 2 games that they played yesterday. So Polt's going to look around. Maybe he's hoping that Polt overcommits. But the difference between this game and the last one is that he didn't even force a command center cancel this time. Like, Polt is just in a significantly better place than before.
Yeah, FireCake needs to make something happen. He's going to move out here with the Roaches to fend off this small little aggressing force and try and take his third base a squeak quicker than what we saw in the previous game. But other than that, it's looking difficult.
Yeah, this is going to be a tricky spot. With 500 gas in the bank, he's probably going to go for those upgrades and get the Spire immediately. Once the lair is done, the Reaper runs in. He sees the Roach Warren, but the Roach Warren is not wiggling. The lair just finished up, so he might check in again to see if it starts to move around a bit, which would indicate that there's an upgrade. But there it is. There's the Spire. There's the Evolution Chamber. This time, he is starting up Roach speed, and he's adding on a couple more, so suddenly it gets a bit weird, Kalaris.
Yeah, if he actually made just a ton of roaches and tried to fool his opponent into thinking that it's going to be a Spire transition, that could be kind of cool. But there's going to be so much bio by the time he gets there with a sizable amount of roaches that could also get quite sticky.
Yeah, Baneling Nest is still very important to make anything like this work. He's even getting range, so what I'm imagining is that FireCake is going to say, forget the 4th base, I'm going to go up, I'm going to open up with a couple of Mutalisks to try to defend this. Actually, losing this Queen really hurts because now this Banshee can do a little bit of work on the roaches. Another Queen is coming up, but I'm imagining that he's just decided, I'm going to go ridiculously fast into Swarm Hosts. This could be the last map I play in WCS. Does get that Banshee, though, which is quite nice.
Yeah, and wasn't expecting that to die off. A little bit of a slip up there by Polt. Didn't need to let that happen. But at the same time, it feels as if like FireCake is now just clawing at the tool belt. What else do I actually have in here? Because the spanner hasn't worked, the wrench hasn't worked. I guess I'm going to be going for this kind of +1 weapon on the roaches and seeing if that can do something.
Yeah, the thing is, opening Mutalisks into speed roaches with +1 is like an anti-mech build. Like, this is what you do to force out some Thors, and then have your roaches run in and kill all the Thors by themselves. But that's not what's happening. That's not how Bio works. Marines and Marauders with Stim and Medivacs will kill Mutalisks and roaches at the same time. They'll discriminate.
And the 6 Overlords extra being added on here for FireCake to really open up the taps and make sure that he can have as many units out as he wants. Yeah. But the Bio already pushes back the Roach Force in the middle and gets 3 roaches. That's not the best start there for FireCake.
Yeah, the supply count is very deceiving. These Mutalisks have a chance to do some work, though. As he runs in, snaps up 1 mule, he's going to knock a few of these SCVs back, and this is where you try to make some work happen. If you're FireCake, this is basically his biggest chance, but at the same time, he has to deal with a big drop in his main base. There's a lot of forces for Polt getting ready to run rampant inside of FireCake's main.
Yeah, that's a double drop there with those roaches trying to contest this with the healing. It's going to be very, very difficult to actually deal with that. And at the same time, the Mutalisks aren't doing massive amounts. They got themselves a few kills here and there, and that will be fended off for now, but that comes at the cost of even a few Mutalisks.
Yeah, he's lost a couple of those units, as you mentioned. Now the 1-1 is completing, which makes those drops even more difficult to deal with since they can start to punch through the roach armor. And FireCake, he's looking for everything he can get. He's like, oh, SCV here, SCV there. Okay, I'll take that.
Not bad, not bad.
Just waiting to see an infestation pit, because I don't think there's any other way he's gonna. I don't know if there's any other weird tools he has in his belt to keep this. The supply, very deceiving. Like I said, there's a lot of roaches on the map, and they are, they might as well be 1 supply if we were talking about their actual effectiveness versus straight up bio.
Yeah, more roaches on the way. He may as well pull his protractor out at this point, because this could be quite difficult. He needs to get banelings on the field. He needs baneling speed on the field as well. He's getting a few lings here to be able to contest with this, but it's 9 Marines at any given time with 2-2 on the way as well. Of course, it is a little far away, the 2-2, and he is not still doing too bad there with the Mutalisks, but they will be pushed away eventually.
The Muta harass has been great, but there's been absolutely no creep spread whatsoever. The baneling speed is very late. He's just going to try to bowl this over with roaches. The Widow Mines take a big chunk out, though, and Polk is going to just try to fight straight up in the open field. He does get pushed back, but here's the other problem is these roaches are so slow, he can just go right over to the main base, pull them around even more. The only thing that Polt really needs to do now is just keep this force out and then get another force to check for a 4th base or even hit the 3rd. Like, if he doesn't go into Swarm Host, he's going to run out of money just playing 3 bases versus a 3-base Terran.
Oh, the Mutalisks trying to get on top of these medevacs, but at the same time, Polt reacts in quick time and is able to drop every single unit and make sure he's going to keep going, but at the same time, they are very, very weak now, the Mutalisks, meaning that he can't really engage with them just yet.
I'm thinking, basically, the way this game is going to go, FireCake's firing up a lot of banelings. His +1's about to finish. He's getting his Zergling speed finishing. His baneling speed's about to finish, and his Overlord speed. He's taking a 4th base, but I think he wants to make a really, really big push on this 3rd of Polt and just try to overwhelm him with sheer numbers, because otherwise, Polt's army composition just becomes too cost-effective versus this in the late game.
He's got to try and be his opportunity. He is stuck in the mid-game, you're right, with all of that. There is quite the Widowmine field there as well. If he actually ends up running through there, the Mutalisks are going to try and do a bit more scratching damage as well on this left-hand side, but well, the Roaches can at least tank up some of these Widowmines before he goes in for the full engage.
Yeah, the Widowmine's not actually getting too many big shots off just yet, but Baneling speed isn't ready, and these mines could target. He doesn't actually hit the Baneling, so FireCake's able to get nice and close. but splitting against slow Banes off creep is not too tricky for Polt as he spreads himself out. That supply is starting to dwindle quickly for FireCake with these cheap units as he boosts away from the red. Now FireCake's actually going to go into the natural. He wants to get on that production. This is his chance to use that overwhelming number of units to clear this game.
This is a brilliant chance for him. If he can deny everything coming out of here step by step, then maybe there's an opportunity for him to actually win this into the mineral line now. A lot of the Zergling numbers have been thinned though, but the roaches and lings on top of these barracks are doing quite a bit.
Yeah, FireCake's just piling units across the map. Now Polt's 2-2 did complete in the midst of that fight, which means he can trade significantly more effectively against the Roach Ling, and we can see that supply evens out in a snap. 13 more roaches are on the way, but Polt still has the more cost-effective, straight-up better army. FireCake tried to just clear this game by winning a numbers game, but those upgrades, they really turn the tides fast.
Yeah, the units that came back from the third base as well with a saving grace. If they didn't have units to complement all the units that were popping out of those barracks, could have got really, really messy. But now he's just going to pick up, get away from those Banelings.
I'd like to see some target fire on the Widow Mines. He had a lot of opportunities at Banelings, but he's going to go to the mineral line. Okay, clears out the mining of Polt on his third. He's getting something done, but 3-3's on the way. There's a timer on this game.
Yeah, there's a lot of lings. A few more Mutalisks are going to be added to the ball that he has at the moment. So he has 7, going up to 15 very, very soon. But the Marines to the left-hand side, putting pressure on towards this fourth base. There are a few lings on the way, but they don't going to be cleaning that up too quickly. Oh, actually, there's quite a few.
When you're playing around with roaches, that supply gets exceedingly high. Polt's still capable of pushing out on the map. Just has to be careful that he doesn't actually take those big fights against those roaches since they can't chase him very easily. This is the kind of army that generally Terran won't lose if both players are maxed out. So Polt is playing with a little bit of fire by being so active, as he's already been pushed back onto his own barracks once in this game.
Yeah, normally whenever you see that happen, a killing blow from the Zerg normally comes out, but Polt was able to hold on. That being said, it's a lot of Banelings morphing in. He just needs to make sure they don't get caught by the Widow Mines, don't get soaked up by the Marauders at the front, and he might have a good shot here.
Yeah, very important as FireCake's getting ready to make another big bust. Polt has been supply blocked for a while, actually. He's just now starting depots. He supply drops a depot and is instantly supply blocked again. So all of his production was queued up and not functioning, including his command centers that are eating up the supply with the SCVs.
He's coming in from all sides here, all angles. FireCake is trying to push on through this. All the Banelings at the front, they haven't really done a whole lot against the bio, but that's still a lot of roaches, a lot of lings. Also pushing forwards. FireCake is going to push Polt back towards his natural and leave the third base completely open.
Yeah, Polt just needs time. He needs time to get forces out, time for these upgrades, but FireCake is going to focus down this third base. I think he actually might be able to get it. The roaches are going to come fight against the bio with a lot of lings streaming in to reinforce. Additional Zerglings pouring across the map. Polt, that third commander, I think he actually lost it now, so FireCake's just going to try to nail this one in. Polt doesn't have a lot of money left in his main or natural.
Playing the game of his life here, FireCake. He knows Widow Mines are there, doesn't want to stray too far forwards. He took quite a bit of damage to that. These Banelings morphing in, though, could cause Polt a few problems as they are going to move forwards. There's still those Widow Mines. Has to be careful. Pulls back, does not want to go any further.
Yeah, Polt's got to drop in that third base now. This is very important for him to shut down. He needs to clear this economy out. Otherwise, FireCake is just going to have too many resources to throw against him. Polt now has +3 armor, +3 attack against only +1 of FireCake. His Marines are going to be full Rambo mode against these superior Zerg numbers. He can't afford to run all of his production, but at this point, he may not have to.
Yeah, he needs to get that third command center back up. He could have actually maybe flown from the main once that's finished up, but he needs it going as quickly as possible to keep up with what we're seeing here from FireCake. That being said, he's only been on 3 base for a long time, so the amount of units we're seeing here from FireCake will start dwindling as time goes on.
And we've seen a very cost-effective use of a very low number of Mutalisks for FireCake as Polt is getting ready to receive once again another big push that FireCake is moving across the map with. That's a lot of Roach Ling, a lot of Roach Baneling, but the +3 upgrades mean that these Zerglings are not going to be the tide turners. They're not going to be very effective against the Marines. It's all about the Roaches soaking up shots for those Banelings to get the money connections.
If they can, then it will be a very big deal here. Unbursts one of the Widow Mines, so it doesn't actually detonate on 2 Zerglings alone. That Widow Mine gets a few Banelings there to start things off here for Polt. He's got a supply advantage.
This spread.
It's perfect.
This spread is too good from Polt. He clears out a lot of the Banelings. Those 3-3 upgrades just shred everything that steps his way. He has a lot of mines he can fall back onto at the same time, and this is just not going to be enough from FireCake. He tries to bait some of the mine shots with his Overlords, but the Mutalisks are dying. All the Banelings are dead, and with that, potentially FireCake's chances at this game and WCS.
Oh, it's been such a valiant effort here so far from FireCake with the power of the crowd behind him. But Polt, somehow, someway, every single time keeps holding on. And now that he has that 3-3 that you mentioned, utter powerful performance here from Polt in the later stages.
Yeah, we can see that FireCake has just been cranking out insane numbers of Roach Baneling, causing him to float a substantial amount of gas that he can't make a lot of use of. He's going to go for Mutas in the main, while Lings are in the third, just trying to cut down Polt's economy again, and he's doing a damn good job of it, Kalaris. If he kills this third CC, going to be tragedy. However, there's a lot of Marines here that are ready to fight, ready to stand together and push this back for now.
He's killed almost 60 workers in this game, which is such a testament to how well FireCake has been able to do in this game so far, but still, his third base is denied. It's slowed down. Polt is keeping his opponent as back as he is at the moment.
Yeah, this has been just a tricky spot for FireCake. Taking cost-effective engagements is no longer really possible. He does clean this drop up, which is nice, as Polt looks to secure a fourth position. He's just going to float his natural command center over here. He's like, yeah, I'm mining the creeps. Like, okay, I understand. I just need the money, He's mined out of his main and his natural.
The floor's a bit sticky, but I just need the money, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Give me what I can get. Well, he's going to actually drop in here in the main base as well. Kill off a few drones. Anything that Polt can get here is fantastic. Even a queen to deny extra lava. Anything is absolutely great here.
Yeah, FireCake's got that hatchery up on the way again in the southwest position, but this is also buying time for Polt to secure those expansions. Every unit that he makes is just so absurdly cost-effective because of those upgrades. Like, FireCake's only chance at winning this game was just by overwhelming him and killing everything as it came out of the production despite the upgrades. But now Polt has put himself in a solid enough position. I'm very worried about FireCake's chances after another big fight happens.
Yeah, the supply advantage now for Polt is extending further and further, as unfortunately here, FireCake's ability to mine has just become crippled. There's not a whole lot of room for him to do much. The drops continue to be irritating, keeping FireCake back from a position where his opponent's army is just absolutely amassing strongly.
Yeah, these Mutas can't really do much on this this expansion of Polt in the northeast. Polt's going to drop the main base, going to pick off this hatchery for FireCake. Of course, I guess he wasn't mining anything here, so he's buying some time, but there's another drop now to the left side, so he actually pulled some of the forces over, distracting him. As long as he isn't hit by these Banelings, he can trade all day.
And, gets himself... Was that a spawning pool? It was actually a spawning pool during that, so he can't even make Lings for now. He will get that medevac, but at the cost of a spawning pool? Polt, gotta favor that trade.
Yeah, when you're this broke, even losing, replacing that 200 mineral spawning pool is a very big deal. Polt leaves a lot of mines behind. I love this. This is a great way to deal with any kind of counterplay that FireCake could try to make in this desperate situation. He does have some Baneling mines. He triggers one of those Marines, but he doesn't have a second Baneling to actually kill them. Burrow is basically his desperation move, but now Polt knows, and now he's going to scan.
Yeah, those ones just burrow right out of range, and then he drops the scan again. Doesn't really have a huge amount of scans across only 3 command centers in this game, as it's been a very low economy 26-minute game, but it's even lower economy now as he kills off more and more drones on this left-hand side and will bring down the hatchery.
Yeah, Polt is bringing this game closer and closer to its conclusion, as he's going to be able to force fights now against this vastly superiorly upgraded Terran army. FireCake, he needs to come in and defend at least something of his. This Lair Tech's going to get knocked down. Here come the Banelings. Widowmine takes out a huge chunk as he pushes in, and I think that's got to be it, Kalaris.
And the brushes are going to melt. FireCake here has got to be feeling the pressure. There's not much left for him to do at all. A few Lings are going to pop out of this hatchery, but even the Baneling nest will fall. All the tech will go down, and with that, FireCake's chances are absolutely gone.
Yeah, he's got a last wave of Lings that are going to pop out. He'll clean up these mines, but Polt, I will say uncharacteristically getting supply blocked an insane amount of times in these games. He's been at 177 for the last, 7 minutes basically, but it doesn't matter anymore. He's got more than enough to make do with, and he's going to come up. He's going to deny the actual mining bases, and FireCake will have very few options left to do other than just tap out, because he doesn't even have a Baneling nest.
Yeah, as you said, it's almost like for Polt, that reality check of losing to Hydra before is making him a bit, antsy about what he's going to do in these situations, and having these supply blocks hit him does hurt. But at the moment, he was able to hold strong. Captain America grabbed his shield, hunkered down, and was able to take any kind of bashing and brunts that were going to hit him, and he is just going to hold on to even this position.
Yeah, 1-1 Lings are not going to clean up this army, even with that fantastic surround. Clears the Mutas out. That's it. GG. Polt will advance to the top 8 of the World Championship Series round. I guess, Premier League. We're not in the round of 16 anymore. He's out.
And that was not the easiest of games for Polt. Let me tell you that, because FireCake, He looked good for a long time during that, but everything for him was aimed at the mid-game. If he's not going to kill him there, he's not going to kill him at all.
There's very few situations where a Zerg player is able to get Lings, Mutas, and Roaches on top of the Terran barracks and not actually be able to kill them, but the 3-3 kicking in for Polt allowed basically 12 or so Marines to roll up with 3 medevacs coming back into his main and cleared out all of it. Like an upgrade advantage like that is something that you absolutely cannot ignore if you want to win a long game against a Terran player.
Yeah. Good hold there overall by Polt. Great holds throughout that entire game long as FireCake constantly putting on the aggression. But that does it from us here at the desk. Let's hear from the winner moving on to the round of 8. It is CM Storm's Polt.
Thank you very much, Caleres. Amazing series. Congratulations, Polt, on making it to the round of 8. This is your 6th round of 8 in WCS, which is absolutely amazing, that sort of consistency. How are you able to still do so well after so many years of playing StarCraft 2?
I think it's because of my practice. I mean, I don't mean I practice hard or like practice 10 hours a day or things like that. I mean, I always try to figure out what's the very efficient way to practice in the long run. So probably most of my practice is macro games, and I always try to think how I can improve this build or strategy better and more efficient. And I think that in the end of the day, that works. So I'm pretty much consistent, maybe.
Well, you're coming out of this group in 2nd place, maybe not the way you wanted, but still you're on to the round of 8. This means that you're going to be playing the 1st place finishers from the other group, so it could be Snoot and his, 4GG rather, and his Terran versus Terran. Could be Snoot is very determined to win WCS, or the 1st place finisher of Group D. It's not an easy road to the finals.
For the round of 16, I just played TvZ, 3 matches, so I just hope it's not Zerg again.
Well, the path to the finals is still there. You are a 2-time WCS champion. It's possible that you might be the first 3-time WCS champion. What would that be for you?
You know who was the first 2-time champions for WCS? So probably he's gonna be the 3-time champions as well. I think so.
Now, you just defeated FireCake, who's the hometown favorite. It must be a little difficult to do that since you know they were cheering for him. Despite that, you have played in so many different countries, Poland, Sweden, America, Korea. Compared to all of that, what's it like playing here in France?
Actually, I was kind of worried because I had to play against FireCake again and again. I beat him 2 times and eliminated him. So a little bit worried when I had to come out from the booth, but they're really, I can say I'm really grateful and really thank you to everyone.
Well, congratulations again, Polt, and thank you for this interview. That will conclude the Group C, and that will bring us to 6 quarterfinalists. Let's head over to the panel and hear what the experts have to say with everything that's happened so far.
Thank you very much, Six. That's right. 6 players have gone through, 2 more spots available for the bracket stage. We'll be finding out about that very shortly when we jump into Group D. Crowd behind FireCake there is he's now eliminated from the tournament. They're also behind Polt, and hopefully we'll continue to support Polt throughout this tournament as he now, via proxy, maybe supports and kind of represents France a little bit here, or maybe it's Millennium and 4GG. We'll have to find out as we get into the bracket stages. But let's talk a little bit about that series. FireCake, both games, there was chances.
Yeah, he got the lead in both of the games. He has this solid early game, solid early-ish mid game, gets the lead. I think the second game shows it the best. There's 180 supplies or 100 of Polts in the second game at a certain time. But the reason why Polt can win, even though FireCake got on top of the production, he killed SCVs over the third, Polt's control in those engagements is just insane. It was in the first game as well. Me and you were watching that engagement. massive wraparound from FireCake in the middle of the map. It looked like it was going to go his way. Then Polt just pulls out, and all of the Bailings come through the middle, just get shot down, and it like drops from 180 to versus 180 to like 120 for FireCake. His control's incredible.
I mean, how do you always credit that? Is that just through experience on knowing what to do, or is it as simple as said? It's just he's able to control better than others.
Yeah, it is pretty simple in the end. Like, it's crisis management. It's also pre-engagement splitting. That sometimes it looks like other players will get a great opportunity to engage that army of Polt. And then at first we're like, oh yeah, the Bailings. And then suddenly, like, it's just like he creates like this alley of death or something. Like, everything just rolls in one by one. And then suddenly Terran looks easy. Well, we all know it's not easy at all to spread out your units like that. He's just extremely efficient. And I mean, let's not forget, Polt has been doing this for years and years and years on this level.
All right, well, let's go ahead and bring up the bracket and just have a look at the two players that have gone through and talk a little bit about this more in detail. As we saw Hydra go through in first place, and Smix brought up a really good point actually on stage, is that Hydra plays second place finishers a little bit softer than the first place finishers that Polt must go up against. And we already now, having completed a couple of groups, have a little bit of an image of what potentially we could see here. Polt versus 4GG could happen in the round of 8. Polt versus Snoot could happen in the round of 8. And if you think about Group D, we have Kane and...
Bunny?
Bunny's leading the group at the minute.
So depending on who wins that winner match, that's an impressive round of 8 bracket already.
Yeah, I mean, like, going into this round of 16, there's already a lot of good players, so it's going to keep on getting better and better. And the round of 8 is actually, yeah, as we're starting, you know, to see a picture of what it's going to look like, it's actually pretty crazy. Even Hydra, I think he's going to play either Showtime or TLO. That's a pretty good match as well. So it's really nice to see, you know, all of these players play this well, be on form here for these events. And I'm sure tomorrow games will be great, but we're not done yet.
We're not done yet. We have one more group to go, and we are going to complete the top 8 for this evening in the next couple of hours. We'll also be able to do the bracket drawing as well. So if you want to find out who plays who exactly, just stay tuned for the next couple of hours as we conclude Group D. Make sure to do all the social media things as you always do. Hashtag WCS, go to Facebook and /StarCraft. And also, if you've missed some of the action, you can check out the YouTube channel, which is ESL TV. Our next match on the mainstream is going to be Wellmu versus Haas. Elimination time in Group D. We'll be right back.